It's Monday, July 1st, and this is Markets Daily, a show where we get into the minds of some of the most experienced and smartest CEOs, analysts, researchers, academics, and anyone with a hot take on the crypto markets. Now, before we get into our discussion today, let's take a look at what's happening in the news this morning. As Bitcoin looks to recover from the July loss, on-chain data suggests that new challenges could be ahead, suggesting a potential resistance level at $65,000. As of recording time, the largest cryptocurrency by market cap was sitting at around $62,800. That's up over 2% on the day. And Japanese investment advisor Metaplanet spent $1.2 million to buy more than 20.2 Bitcoin as part of its strategy to build up holdings. The investment is part of its strategy announced a week ago of buying another $6 million worth of the cryptocurrency. And 21Shares has filed an application for a spot SOL ETF in the United States. This comes after VanEck filed for the same product. Joining us now to provide more insight into what's going on in the crypto markets is 21Shares Head of U.S. Business, Federico Brokate. Federico, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Now, as you know, on this show, we talk about crypto markets all day, every day. What are you watching this morning? What's standing up to you?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of activity in the space, and I personally joined 21Shares about 2 weeks ago to come lead the U.S. business for the firm. For your viewers that perhaps need a little context, 21Shares is the world's first and largest issuer of crypto ETPs with a mission to make crypto investing accessible to everyone. So I'm really excited to have joined the team, and I'm really excited to learn from the people here and to continue integrating into the industry. For me, it's been a fun 2 weeks, and I've been really impressed with the culture they've built and the long-term vision they have for the firm. So excited to help grow the U.S. business.
Well, Federico, congratulations on the new position, first of all.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Now, you come from another asset management firm, one that many of the people in this industry have heard of this year, BlackRock. Talk to me about making the decision to move from BlackRock to 21Shares, especially this year when we had the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF. A lot of market watchers think that BlackRock was really the driver behind the approval there. Talk to me about making the switch.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I've been a long-time admirer of 21Shares. They were one of the first to launch for the spot Bitcoin product in the US a few years back. And I would say that I've always had my eye on them because there's several things that differentiate them from other issuers in the digital asset space. One thing that's been apparent since I joined the firm is there's a very clear mission here to make crypto investing more accessible to everyone and to really be that bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance. And so everything the firm does is in pursuit of that mission, and joining a place like that has such a clear purpose is really refreshing. The second thing I'd say here is, 21Shares has a fantastic track record that really speaks for themselves. They launched the world's first physically backed crypto ETP over 6 years ago, and they manage over 50 products today with diverse strategies all around the world. And so it's great to learn from an industry expert and an industry leader. And the last thing I'd say is, 21Shares has a strong focus on research and technology. And so being able to join a firm that has produced some of the most comprehensive digital asset research is really fantastic, and it's a great resource for us. And the firm also provides a fantastic tech offering for companies that are looking to access and manage their own digital assets. And so I think the combination of these things has really positioned 21Shares to be one of the strongest players when it comes to merging traditional finance with crypto.
You talk about that bridge between traditional finance and crypto. Just given your background, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. What are some of the challenges that still exist when building that bridge? Because that bridge hasn't been built yet.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the ETFs have made a big step forward in bridging the gap between traditional finance and crypto. I think over the next year, what we're going to continue to see is a further adoption of the vehicle by different types of investors. And so far, we've seen a lot of appetite on our side when client conversations from both institutional investors all the way through retail investors. And so what we're hoping happens is continued adoption of the ETF continues to bring the two universes a bit closer together.
Well, we of course know we have the spot Bitcoin ETF. We're hoping to see some spot ETH ETFs trading this summer. And like I said at the beginning of the show, 21Shares recently filed for a spot SOL ETF application in the United States. Now, I know that as an applicant, you can't talk about the application directly, but what does this tell you as someone who comes from the TradFi side of things? The fact that we have a spot SOL ETF application from not only 21Shares but VanEck, what does that tell you about where crypto ETFs are going for the rest of 2024 and beyond?
Well, the first thing it tells me is that digital asset ETFs are here to stay, and that the digital asset ecosystem is going to be or will have a place in portfolios moving forward. Like you mentioned, I can't say too much about the filings, but we're really excited to be able to bring some of these strategies that we've managed in European markets already. We have a Sol ETF in Europe. We've had an ETH ETF for some time as well in Europe, and so for us, it's being able to bring this expertise to the U.S. market is really exciting, and the momentum that we're seeing in adoption and demand for some of these strategies is also quite encouraging.
Well, this application is kind of unprecedented. I'm going to reference James Seifert. He's an ETF analyst at Bloomberg. He said that based on years of prior approvals and denial orders for crypto ETFs, the Solana ETF should be denied because there is no federally regulated futures market. But a new admin in the White House and new SEC admin could change that. Broadly speaking, again, I know you can't speak about yours, but like, do you think these applications and applications like this is maybe a bet on a Trump or Republican win in November?
So before I answer that, I will start by saying 21Shares is a Swiss-based organization. We're founded in Zurich, and we typically are not in the business of picking political candidates or placing our hopes there. I think this political conversation around the digital asset space is a fantastic tailwind for the industry. All the attention that we can get from regulators and our client base is fantastic, and I think will only continue to propel us forward. That said, these filings will all have their own process. They will all have their own review cycle, and we will have to put forward a justification for why they should be in an ETF, and that will happen at some point in time. I think what I take away is all the excitement that's coming around some of these approvals and some of these new launches that could come to market at some point. And whether that's with a left wing administration or with a right wing one, I think that this trend will far exceed anything that we see in November.
Now, we talked about 21Shares building the bridge between TradFi and DeFi. Talk to me about what that future looks like for you. I know we've spoken about three different types of crypto ETFs, but what does that look like? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, look, I think it means that a lot more people will be holding digital asset ETFs in their portfolios and to varying degrees. And I think everyone needs to grapple with what the right amount of that is going to be. But it's going to be an evolution, and it's going to be a sliding scale. And ultimately, what we want is for people to be able to benefit from all the innovation coming from the digital asset space. And so we hope that the ETF is the right vehicle to do that. And we have strong confidence there.
Education has been one of the big challenges. We've seen many of the asset managers approach that challenge in different ways. How are you thinking about educating folks so that future that you just told me about is one that comes to fruition and people understand what they're getting involved in?
Yeah, I mean, it really all comes back to our foundation of research, right? We're a very research-driven organization, and so what we aspire to do is be able to share that with our clients and with the public and with the broader industry, and hopefully use that as a way to continue growing adoption, growing interest in the space, and making sure that people understand what it is exactly that they're buying and what purpose it has in their portfolios.
Now let's talk a little bit more about the markets. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned that the markets have experienced a little bit of a lackluster Q2. I also mentioned some analysts who think that there could be some more pain coming in Q3 as the rest of the year unfolds. What are you watching for?
Look, I tend to focus on long-term adoption trends, right? I'm not super fixated on day-to-day price movements by any one of our products. What I focus on is, are more people interested in the products that we're distributing, and how does that overall interact with the general price of the underlying asset? And so we view the ETF business as a long-term business. The majority of our clients are buy and hold investors. And so what we're trying to do is create products that they can use and they trust to be in their portfolios. And then ultimately will produce the performance that they want over the long term as continued adoption grows.
You mentioned 21Shares, so a Swiss-based company. You are, of course, focusing on the U.S. business. I've asked you a little bit about challenges. And I think if we look at the industry more broadly outside of the United States, some folks in different jurisdictions, different regions are a little bit more comfortable with crypto for a variety of different reasons. What needs to happen here in the United States, do you think?
Yeah, I think what we've seen in some other markets, especially in Europe, is some action taken by regulators to make it a little bit clearer for issuers and for different market participants. I think that's a process and a journey that we're on in the US. Ultimately, we will see how things shake out and how similar it is to European regulation. But to your point, yes, there are some markets that are more comfortable and are perhaps a little bit more advanced from the regulatory side. That said, we're seeing tons of client demand across the world. And we're really excited about the interest that there is in the US market in particular. as evidenced by the fantastic launch that were the Bitcoin ETF suite earlier this year.
What kind of questions are clients asking?
Yeah, a lot of clients are asking, look, Ethereum is a product that is less understood by the masses. And so understanding what Ethereum can do, what benefits it can have to our portfolio are a little bit, I would say, behind where we were with the Bitcoin adoption cycle. Obviously, Bitcoin being the flagship product for the digital asset ecosystem. And so what I would say is there's a lot of education going on around how it fits in a portfolio, how it complements a Bitcoin allocation, and what percentages should be considered for investing in these products.
Now, I don't know if you're going to have an answer off the top of your head, but for our audience listening, if they wanted to understand how a product like, let's say, the ETF would fit into a portfolio, what would you say to them?
Look, all the analysis we've seen demonstrates that it's able to, any allocation to Ethereum pushes out the efficient frontier. And so the answer is much more of a personal answer that I think investors need to explore. It's more what percentage makes sense for them. And it might not be a one size fits all, but what is proven is that it has an uncorrelated return profile. And so including it in a portfolio to varying degrees is going to be helpful for a lot of people.
I want to come back to the education piece. I keep sticking on this. We have Bitcoin ETF, we have the ETH ETF. We potentially have a Sol ETF next year if that gets approved. What does the education cycle look like? These products aren't, I mean, ETFs are, I guess, a little easier to understand than the actual underlying assets, but they're also different. They all have such different benefits and use cases. If an investor came to you and said, you know, how do I keep up to date? How do I educate myself so that I'm making the right choices for my portfolio? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, first off, I would sympathize because this is the journey that I think we're all on to some degree. There's a lot of change within these networks in and of themselves. And so it's a constant education process. It's not so much of a one size fits all or a one time and done. So what I would say is like, look, there's a lot of resources available. And I think 21Shares produces some of the best in the industry. We have a monthly markets view release that we do every month. And this month happened to be around Ethereum. And so what I would encourage people to do is leverage the resources that we provide for free on our website, leverage some of the thought leadership that we come to market with. And these resources are made to make sure that our clients feel up to date on what's going on, make sure that they understand the products, and that constant education process continues to work.
Federico, what makes you so excited about crypto? Like coming from TradFi, what was the turning point for you? What made you get interested in it, and in turn pivot your career?
Look, I think that there's a lot of excitement in this space, and a lot of the transformative power of the blockchain technology is really exciting for me. I think being at a firm like 21Shares that understands that underlying technology and the impact it can have on different businesses is really what attracted me to this space. And so I'm excited to help use an ETF vehicle to evangelize some access to crypto investing and to help spread some of that benefit across different clients that we can have. But ultimately, I do believe in the ETF as the best vehicle for most people to invest in. And so this merging of an innovative space like is the blockchain and cryptocurrency world with ETFs, I think is a fantastic medium to be in.
Was the ETF the first thing that like got you interested into crypto?
No, like everyone else, I think that you probably have on your show. I personally was very interested in the space for a long time. Obviously, through my past professional experience, that was something that kickstarted it and definitely made me more interested in potentially pursuing a full-time career in it. But no, there's been a long time interest here from my side.
You're not telling me what it was. Was it Bitcoin? Was it NFTs? What was it that got you
I was
interested in it?
I was a Bitcoin on Coinbase in college person. So that was what originally hooked me.
Federico, thank you so much for joining the show. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.